All right. Welcome to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, with all your cool wrestling factoids, everything you need to know in terms of rumors, news surrounding professional wrestling, just all around, just AEW, WWE, TNA, and the National Wrestling Alliance, and Ring of Honor as well. AEW. We touch it all here at the GSMC Sports podcasting network. But just give you guys a nice little heads up. It's midweek. It's Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a great week. I know sometimes the week can be a little grueling, but we have each other to kind of rely on. Remember, one kind, gesture, one act of random kindness could change the world. And, definitely love, to see the world getting better from day to day, especially with all this, stuff going around. But this isn't that kind of podcast. This podcast is here to make you smile. So let's get it started. Let's get it started. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to start that. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today lined up. We have our WWE NXT review. It was a banger. Banger after banger after banger. It was awesome. It was really awesome. Can't wait to dive deep into that. Then we're going to move on to our AEW Dynamite preview. Of course, you have the fallout of AEW Double or Nothing that happened on Sunday. It was a great pay-per-view. And then we're going to jump into Jordynne Grace, enters that forbidden door. She was shown on NXT. Like I said, we're going to get into it. Can't wait to talk about it. And we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar's ban from the WWE has been officially lifted. And finally, our fifth and final segment, we're going to talk about oh my God, what are we talking about? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank here. Like, what's going on? We're gonna talk about Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth is I feel bad because I don't want to throw shade at my dog, Nick Nemeth. I can't believe I forgot. I'm just kidding though. Anyways, but Nick Nemeth, we're gonna talk about his WWE departure, how it ultimately benefited his career, how it was better like him leaving WWE. Because the people, a lot of people think that, it's kind of like, why are you signing a death wish, losing something like WWE? But Nick Nemeth, he actually asked for his release in, WWE. But we'll get into it. But first, we're going to talk about the tips and donations link. I want to remind you guys that we get a bunch of questions from viewers like you to come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, gets read in front of millions of people, I ask you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMC, podcast.net. Shoot me your questions. This really helps the show, guys. Leave a positive review here at the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. We love a little bit of peace, love, and positivity day after day. Again, the link is at the GSMC podcast, .net. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, first segment, we're going to talk about WWE NXT. It was probably one of the best NXT episodes that's like ever aired. And I think a lot of credit you kind of have to give to, Paul Levesque. Paul Levesque has recently been pulling the strings backstage with his confidant, DX stableman member, Shawn Michaels, and his close dear friend. And they've done nothing but just do really well. Really, really well. Absolutely creating bangers, different. You see a lot of more innovative ideas, I feel like, in WWE now. I feel like every storyline you kind of look at it, because before, during the Vince McMahon era, there were some times where you saw a storyline kind of unfold and you're like, oh, great, this is going to suck. But so far, it hasn't really done anything like that. Like, Paul Levesque, obviously, he's, definitely one of the best. He's like one of the best successors to kind of like take over the company. He's been in the WWE. He's been on Vince McMahon's bad side. He's been on his good side. Obviously, he's married to his daughter. But before he was married to his daughter, he endured some of the lives that these wrestling superstars endured. When he probably heard about complaints. He heard a lot about cocky superstars getting pushed that don't deserve to get pushed, ultimately kind of grooming and rubbing the testicles of Vince McMahon just to get to where ultimately they want to be. But I think the perfect person that you possibly could run a wrestling organization is someone that's just homegrown. Homegrown. Triple H is homegrown. He's been with the WWE for the longest time. He's had ups, he's had downs, and believe me, he has had downs. Definitely. There was a point in his career where he was thinking about quitting. Luckily, they picked him up. He won the King of the Ring, and, lo and behold, you have, Triple H, Paul Levesque. So let's get on into it. So first and foremost, you see the GM, Ava, inside the ring, introduces Sexy Red. Like I said, I'm not a huge I love hip hop and R&B. I like a nice little smooth, kind of hip hop soundtrack and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just kidding. No, but I'm not like he really big into like rap nowadays because I don't. I feel, for me, the music just doesn't really tell stories and just doesn't really have the same passion and emotion that it used to have back in like the early '90s. Like the our hip hop and R&B with during the 2010s. I was a huge fan of Chris Brown, Neo, Akon, and all these others. But that, like I said, that's just a huge. That's just my opinion. Obviously, if you have a different opinion, hit it in the chat. Tell me how Eric your taste in music sucks, dude. I can handle it. I can take it. I can take it. So they introduced Sexy Red. It's all good, and she's going to be hosting Battleground, which is yeah, I guess it's kind of cool. She unveiled the Women's North American Championship. Looked pretty damn pretty. Tatum Paxley automatically runs inside the ring and tries to take it, tries to steal it, tries to pry it from Sexy Red's hand, which was kind of funny. I like kind of how that all started. And then out came Michin, and they fought. Ultimately, Michin getting the win there. Next, you saw Gallus hitting a promo saying that they did not attack Noam Dar, and of course, his stablemate for Metaphor was attacked later on, and they weren't part of it. They were not part of it. Chase used Riley Osborne, fought against Rich Holland, and you couldn't help but to notice, but just the power of Rich Holland. Rich Holland is obviously levels above these guys in Chase University. Maybe that's the reason why they kind of ultimately want to kind of recruit him because he would be like a huge muscle. He'd be pretty great. 1,010%. Obviously, someone with the battling brutes with Sheamus and Pete Dunne. But he ultimately branched out from that. I know Rich Holland gets a lot of kind of scrutiny because he was ultimately the one that botched the move and caused Big E to ultimately not fight anymore and kind of not be cleared by medical staff and doctors. But like I said, that's neither here nor there. We don't want to focus on that aspect of it. But I don't know. And you saw Thea Hale absolutely concerned for both competitors. She cares about Riley Osborne, obviously, and she cares about her new friend Rich Holland, which she knows that all he's doing is he's just trying to find a friend. He's just trying to find a nice little stable, but of course there's always that back, like you don't know like if he's genuine or not. And this is causing a divide between Chase U. Absolutely 100%. They're conflicted 110%. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of unfolds heading toward WWE NXT BattleGround. Next, we have the OC. The OC they want to fight the WWE NXT Tag Team Champions, Axiom and, Nathan Frazier. Should be pretty interesting. Blade and Anofe, they fought. The OC obviously building up momentum heading toward Battleground. You saw Axiom and Frazier accept the challenge, kind of beating them out of the ring. Setting the challenge for NXT Battleground for the NXT World Tag Team Champions. If I had to put, kind of like a label on it right now, I definitely think that, I kind of thought Axiom and Frazier were going to kind of drop the belts to AOP when they, when I thought when I thought WWE NXT was going to have rights to superstars when they draft them, but they didn't really do any of the drafting. So you had AOP, kind of dip their nose, kind of dip their feet into NXT. It'd be kind of cool to have an NXT team defeat an NXT team. So, and like I know, like, oh, the OC is WWE. They are on the main card. Yeah, yeah. But ultimately, they're really, really good when they have belts on them, the OC. I think that they're kind of heading toward a reunion with AJ Styles because at this point, I don't know where AJ Styles would, if he's not going to leave WWE, he kind of has to find a stable. And I think he's going to go back to his boys. He's going to go back to his boys, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows and Michin. And they're going to, they're going to kick ass once again. They're going to be great. Next, we see an NXT Women's Champion her Roxanne Perez's opponent is unveiled, and it was absolutely crazy. And it's something that was kind of crazy about Roxanne Perez since she started training when she was 13 years old. The future greatness instead of future. She really put an emphasis on how something that we all realize as WWE fans. A lot of people realize that a lot of these superstars do go back down to NXT to kind of find themselves, kind of like what Baron Corbin did, kind of like what Nick Nemeth did, Bobby Roode, Becky Lynch, and the list goes on and on and on. Finn Balor, The New Day, and she kind of called people out for it, and I really like that. I really like that because she said like these people are trying to come back to NXT to establish future greatness instead of current greatness. And right now, Roxanne Perez is definitely one of the most. She's probably one of the best WWE NXT Women's champion, mostly because she's a two-time champion, and ever since her reign started, she's done nothing but defend it and fight for it. So, yeah, when I was anticipating an opponent coming out, I wasn't anticipating the TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace. Absolutely crazy. Oh man, I kind of, you can kind of see in the eyes of Roxanne Perez. She was like, "Oh my god, like great, great, great!" Like it just didn't seem that appealing to her. And to be honest, as a WWE fan, I was like a little, but as a wrestling fan, I was like, yeah. It's gonna be so cool. Imagine it's gonna be fun. Roxanne Perez has her hands full, but she can do it. She's fought in greater odds and stuff like that, and she just has the way to kind of weasel her way out and maneuver, try to find a way to get the victory and retain her WWE NXT World Women's Championship. I definitely believe in her 1,010%. But will Jordynne Grace become a double champion? And what would that mean for WWE NXT? What would that mean for TNA? What would that mean for the open door that just swang right open once when Jordynne Grace graced us with her presence on WWE NXT last night? And it was awesome. It was great. It was definitely something that, shocked me. It shocked a lot. I watched a couple of reaction videos on Instagram and like TikTok and Facebook, and I was like, dude, like this is, I don't know, I thought it was big. It was big. I was, absolutely deserves the attention. So, also made me think of maybe like a potential WWE TNA partnership, but we'll get into that a little later. Moving on, we have our Ariana Grace versus Lola Vice. Ariana Grace, absolutely love her kind of personality. I love that she kind of comes off as like a Disney princess, but this princess kind of got her ass beat. Like Lola Vice, obviously trying to build up momentum heading toward NXT BattleGround, where she has to fight Shayna Baszler in an underground match. Her former trainer that helped her fight Natalia at was it Stand and Deliver? I think it was Stand and Deliver. But yeah, no, ultimately, like it's gonna be great. Next, we see Lexis King against Dante Chen again. Dante Chen pulls up the victory again, pulling a fast one. This match was over like under 3 minutes. It was pretty crazy. And then you saw Alexis King attack. Classic heel. So that's setting up a nice little rivalry kind of heading forward. Then you have a promo with the No Quarter Catch crew looking for guidance. And lately, like Drew Gulak's contract was not picked up by the WWE. It was ultimately kind of like, kind of set to the side. Was no really huge rush. And I know Paul Levesque, he claimed in a press conference and a press release that it wasn't because of Ronda Rousey, which is, it's tough. It's tough. Like, do I believe it? No. Do I, think Triple H is lying? No. Like, it's one of those things where it's kind of left in the middle and you're kind of left with, like, because Drew Gulak was, like, the reason why the No Quarter Catch crew was kind of prominent in WWE NXT, and kind of losing Gulak, kind of losing the brains of the operation, kind of like the balls. And now they just seem worthless. Charlie Dempsey's trying to get his crew going on. Ultimately couldn't really work out. And yeah, just kind of crazy. Next, we saw Ren Sinclair against Keilani Jordan for the final spot for the six pack ladder match. And it was pretty cool. It was a good match, but ultimately Keilani Jordan came out victorious. And lastly, because we're kind of running out of time here, we had Trick Williams teaming up with Javon Evans against Gallus. Overall, I love the match. You kind of saw the power of Gallus, but then you saw the enthusiasm, charisma, the power, and just the determination of the NXT World Champion in Trick Williams. Ultimately, was not going down without a fight. He absolutely kicked her ass. It was pretty cool. Love Trick. He whooped that Trick, beating Gallus. And then, of course, at the end of the match, you saw Last Legend come out trying to confront him and be like, Trick, did you take down Metaphor? And Trick, well, as soon as he was starting to talk, you saw Go Black, And of course, you saw Ethan Page of AEW make his debut, which was quite shocking. It was quite shocking, but I guess, according to some reports that he was technically, well, he wasn't really signed. He was technically a free agent, so no harm, no foul. Not like stealing other superstars or anything like that. So yeah. Oh, so speaking of AEW, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite. We're going to talk about the Double or Nothing Fallout. It's going to be absolutely dope. So hey, stay tuned.